Hello and welcome to another episode of All the Gear, Some Idea. So, Mondial, we took it out for a little test drive last night, or ride should I say. Found a few little niggly things wrong with it. One was the chain, completely slipped our mind. So we adjusted the chain when we were out, went to a friend's house, out of 2Ts, and adjusted it there. He came out with us, so Lee was on his bike and Matt with 2Ts was on his. Also noticed that the Speedo doesn't work. Obviously the engine light's still on, and I was waiting for the diagnostic tool to turn up. So the diagnostic tool has turned up. I didn't realise that it was a OBD2 scanner with an adapter, otherwise I would have probably sorted the adapter. Although my Snap-on scanner for cars doesn't work with it, which is slightly annoying considering I've got this unit and it doesn't power on. Car, bike, no matter what it is, it just doesn't power on, which is slightly annoying. So here is the lead, that's the plug there for the Mondial. Then you have a positive and an earth, and you will then have into a OBD plug, which is just here. So it just plugs into the scanner and then it just reads the faults that it's got. So we are no wiser as to why we've got no Speedo. Hopefully Lee is going to be bringing around his cheap little scanner that may do it. It's annoying that the Snap one doesn't do it, the Bluetooth one doesn't do it. Yeah, so hopefully in a bit Lee will turn up. Say hello to Lee. And yeah, hopefully we'll have a scanner to be able to read these codes. The fact that Speedo doesn't work, I've already got an idea of where I'm going to go with that. I know that the wiring on these can be a little bit funny. I have got a wiring diagram for the clocks, or a dash cluster itself. So, and I've also noticed that there is some wiring that has been messed around with, or it looks like it's been messed around. It doesn't look factory to me. So we're going to have a little look at that anyway, just to make sure it's all good. As if you watch one of our previous videos, you'll see the wiring that I fixed was an orange wire. No idea what that was for. That was more the ignition switch, it's not going to be this. I believe this is a green and white wire that I'm looking for. So we're going to look at this, check no one's done some dodgy repairs on this wire, as they did on the other side with the non-heat shrink connectors. You know, it's a bike, it's open to the elements. So the fuel tank's going to come off. Already done a video on replacing that part of it, so if you need to know how to take a fuel tank off, go back, look at the previous videos, and you will be able to see how to remove it. It's quite simple. 2 bolts, a couple of plugs, it's done. So yeah, I'm going to strip the bike down, get it so it's ready for me to see all the wiring, and then I'll be back. Okay, so the fuel tank is off, the battery is now rested up. These sit in a flat position so they lay down. You've got 2 plugs here, one's for your level sensor, one's for your fuel tank, and then you've got the injector cap down here. And one of the previous videos I mentioned about the way that it works compared to an RS4125, where it comes out this way. Obviously the battery tray is in the way, this comes off. Once again, go back, watch the video, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So the speed sensor itself runs from the clock switch is up here, all the way down here, and then onto a sensor which is down just there. I've traced the wiring back, and this here is actually the wiring. So up to that point, everything looks pretty good. After that point, someone's been in there with some electrical tape and done some repairs. What repairs that is, I have no idea. It's not just that wire either, if we come around here. So what I've done is I've just dropped the headlight down slightly, taken the radiator cowling cover off, and then there's a trim that normally sits on here. I've just removed that. It's the same Allen keys as everything else. And now you can see the wiring that I'm talking about comes down here and then along here and then into this plug. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to strip off that wiring from the electrical tape and see exactly what I can find. Okay, so as you can see, I've just gone AWOL with this at the moment. So the wiring here has been covered up. I haven't stripped this off yet because I want to take the cluster off and make it easy to get to. But there's one thing we did that I just want to check isn't causing any of these faults. When we fit the engine, we fitted it with the new engine ECU. Now I have managed to read the faults using a different code reader now, and I've got a high-speed CAN communication fault. This is very odd to me. having this as an engine light, and I don't know if I'm dealing with two problems, one problem, or a multitude of problems. So what I've done is I've put the original ECU back on again, which as you can see is fitted in front. Just plugged it in and rested it on top of the other one. If this fault now clears and doesn't come back, then it's likely a CAN communication fault because the ECU is incompatible with the clocks that I have. If it's still there, then it's unlikely to be the new engine ECU that's causing this fault. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to run back through the faults, see what faults I've got. If the fault has moved over to this engine ECU, then it's probably going to be something else causing it, so we need to just delve in deeper. If it isn't that's making it come on, and it doesn't have it now, then I'll obviously just swap the ECUs back over again, and it must be because it's incompatible for this bike. Okay, so to remove the engine ECU / throttle body, so if you see now when I do this, that's me moving the throttle. It's got potential, I would imagine, on the inside of the engine ECU. I'm not going to take it apart because it does work, it just gives me an engine light. So we're going to have to remove the one that the ratchet's on now, this one here, and then I believe the one on the back of the airbox makes it easier. But as I go along, I will explain what I'm doing and show you the best way I feel that it is to get it out. It's not going to take very long, and then we just take the throttle cable off and put on the new one, and then we put it back together again and retest. So what I've done is, like I say, I've undone this front one here, the back one down here, and then I've undone this one, pulled this out of this airbox here, and now that's enabled me to give the ECU a bit of a wiggle. So now, if I just move this plug out of the way, pull this ratchet off, what should happen is it slides out, as so. So now you can see ECU / throttle body is now loose. So what I'm going to do now is, we've got quite a lot of slack on this wire, is just pull this out of here, as so, and then switch over the linkage just here. So this part's very simple. On here is an 8mm nut, and then what we're going to do, we've just loosened that off, we're going to pull that back, and then undo this 8mm all the way. That then pulls it onto the metal bit, and if we pull that back, so we do this, pull it up and over, as you can see it's now out, and then we're just going to slide it along here, pull it up out of there. So there we go, that's the engine ECU / throttle body now off. It's really annoying because it's nice and clean in there, it's not very old, but unfortunately it doesn't look like it's going to work with this one. So let me get the new one in place and ready to be fitted. So the tank's back on and the engine runs with no engine warning light on, but I'm still trying to investigate the speedometer fault. So I was stripping the wiring back and then decided to take the cover off the bottom of the instrument cluster, which is here, and as you can see that somebody has actually put a copper bit of wire in here and bodged it. So I'm going to take it apart now and see what I can do with it. Right, I'm back. Last time you'd have seen it, I believe it would have been the back of these clocks here, which would have been these. I have had a few hours of brain scratching, so there's been no recording going on. It's just me doing my thing, scratching my head, trying to figure things out. Now, obviously, one thing I found was this wire here. It's not a wire, it's someone's just Frankensteined it back together, put a piece of copper in there. I do have the end of it that basically fallen out, so it's this part here, and what somebody had done is they just wedged that through the back of it in the hope that it would touch, which, to be fair, yeah, it touched, it worked, it was fine, but obviously I then had to figure out what it is that actually controls. So what that actually controls is the center digi display. It's the power for that. The bike will run without it. Just means you've got no digi display. So it's not actually even fixing the speedometer. That's a brain scratching exercise in itself. However, obviously after removing the plug, the back part of the plug, and then taking the face of the plug off, you can see it's got like a green tinge into it. So it's actually got quite a bit of corrosion inside of that plug, and obviously I need to find a way of reattaching that wire. I'm not having it with a piece of copper hanging out of it. So as you can see, I've got this wire here which is hanging through at the moment. It's just a repair wire that I had already. Now that does actually slide over the connector for the display. So what I'm going to do is feed that through, put the front cover on. I have to be very careful because all these pins inside now move around freely. There's another pin in there that needs to be replaced, this one over here, because it is corroded. But then there's also the ones, I want to replace the ones for the rear Speedo too, because when I'm checking it with a multimeter, it's putting voltage out. When I move this plug, voltage disappears. So I've got no control over it when obviously I'm riding the bike, which means the pins are worn or there's corrosion. And in this case, there's corrosion in them wires. So I need to figure out how I'm going to do that with limited resources of where I am right now. I think I've got three ends of a repair wire here, and that's about it. So there may be some, I wouldn't call it dodgy, I would just call it DIY to get it to work. I just want to get it to the Speedo works. I don't remember taking it apart again, because like this blue wire here that's just attached was on another one of these little connectors in here, that you see the wires hanging out there. I can't get a wiring diagram that's actually clear for this. I've got a service manual, no wiring diagram. It's a little bit frustrating because I presume that goes to the engine ECU. I can't see any nodes coming off the wiring diagram. And if I get one, I'll show you what I mean by node and all that stuff. But right now, I just want to see if I can get this Speedo to work. If not, I found a Speedo, new cable, new sensor on eBay for about 20 quid. It's not the end of the world, but obviously if I replace that, it doesn't work, it could be a waste of money. I'd much rather sit here now for a few hours and figure out about this wiring and get it so it's right here, the front end of it, and go, right, it still doesn't work, cool, right, let's do the end. Because if I fitted a new one and then it doesn't work and I've got to do this then, I'd be really, really, really annoyed. So, yeah, I'll be back in a sec. Right, I'm back. Last time you'd have seen it, I believe it would have been the back of these clocks here, which would have been these. I have had a few hours of brain scratching, so there's been no recording going on. It's just me doing my thing, scratching my head, trying to figure things out. Now, obviously, one thing I found was this wire here. It's not a wire, it's someone's just Frankensteined it back together, put a piece of copper in there. I do have the end of it that basically fallen out, so it's this part here. And what somebody had done is they just wedged that through the back of it in the hope that it would touch, which, to be fair, yeah, it touched. It worked, it was fine. But obviously, I then had to figure out what it is that actually controls. So what that actually controls is the center digi display. It's the power for that. The bike will run without it. Just means you've got no digi display. So it's not actually even fixing the speedometer. That's a brain scratching exercise in itself. However, obviously after removing the plug, the back part of the plug, and then taking the face of the plug off, you can see it's got like a green tinge into it. So it's actually got quite a bit of corrosion inside of that plug. And obviously I need to find a way of reattaching that wire. I'm not having it with a piece of copper hanging out of it. So as you can see, I've got this wire here which is hanging through at the moment. It's just a repair wire that I had already. Now that does actually slide over the connector for the digi display. So what I'm going to do is feed that through, put the front cover on. I have to be very careful because all these pins inside now move around freely. There's another pin in there that needs to be replaced, this one over here, because it is corroded. But then there's also the ones, I want to replace the ones for the rear Speedo too, because when I'm checking it with a multimeter, it's putting voltage out. When I move this plug, voltage disappears. So I've got no control over it when obviously I'm riding the bike, which means the pins are worn or there's corrosion. And in this case, there's corrosion in them wires. So I need to figure out how I'm going to do that with limited resources of where I am right now. I think I've got three ends of a repair wire here, and that's about it. So there may be some, I wouldn't call it dodgy, I would just call it DIY to get it to work. I just want to get it to the Speedo works. I don't remember taking it apart again, because like this blue wire here that's just attached was on another one of these little connectors in here, that you see the wires hanging out there. I can't get a wiring diagram that's actually clear for this. I've got a service manual, no wiring diagram. It's a little bit frustrating because I presume that goes to the engine ECU. I can't see any nodes coming off the wiring diagram. And if I get one, I'll show you what I mean by node and all that stuff. But right now, I just want to see if I can get this Speedo to work. If not, I found a Speedo, new cable, new sensor on eBay for like 20 quid. It's not the end of the world, but obviously if I replace that, it doesn't work, it could be a waste of money. I'd much rather sit here now for a few hours and figure out about this wiring and get it so it's right here, the front end of it, and go, right, it still doesn't work, cool, right, let's do the end. Because if I fitted a new one and then it doesn't work and I've got to do this then, I'd be really, really, really annoyed. So, yeah, I'll be back in a sec. Right, now I'm going to be putting this wire in. As I say, I've got this piece here. I'm going to feed that in. I'd already slid it through, so I knew what hole it was going into, essentially. So we're going to line that up so it's the right way around. If you can see that on the camera, obviously they're all flat this way. I want to get it so it's flat the same way so it doesn't twist. So now we're roughly in the right place. What I now need to do is line this up, slide them in. It's going to be a little bit tricky. There we go, she's in. Cool. Right, that plug is back together on that end. I'm going to have to take it apart again in a second anyway to check it. Well, I'll change the other ones as well. But just for checking, obviously this stupid bit here that someone's put in, it's absolutely diabolical. I'm not happy about it, but I didn't, it is what it is. Anyway, right, does the DigiDisplay work? Yes. Cool. So that wire works. So that's now foolproof to that. So that now can be cut down, heat shrunk and wrapped into that, and we're all good. None of this pushing a piece of copper in the back. Honestly, if I had to buy some repair wires, I'd buy some repair wires. I just don't know what's wrong with some people. Why they believe that's an acceptable way of fixing something. And I would imagine, quite likely, someone's actually paid for this work. How would you feel if you paid for this work? Like you've literally paid someone to do a wiring repair on your bike, and they've obviously broken it due to corrosion, which is fair enough. It's broken, but fix it properly. That goes loose. It's a return to the workshop. Waste of time. If someone's commuting to work on this bike, and it goes off, and they can't see anything, and they can't ride it to work, they've lost money. Oh, anyway, right. Enough of me ranting on because I'm annoyed about it. Don't know if you can tell. What we now need to do is remove this plug again, which is obviously broken. There we go. So that's apart again. Right. So we need to take that back apart, pull the front of this off, and just check the other wires that I'd found to be a bit funny. So as you can see, to get this plug apart, I don't know if it's the right way. There's a few tabs on it, there's a few little holes in the side if you just pry up against them. Now I have taken photos of where the wires go, so if anything went wrong, I've got a rough idea of where they go. I hope it doesn't go wrong, obviously. So that's my main concern, is that's now going to happen every time I pull this apart. It's going to pull that cable out, but that's fine. I'll relocate it where it needs to go. Yeah, right. So now there's a red and yellow one here, which is this one. When I move that up and down on the off the dash while trying to check the voltage I've got at the sensor, I'll go from having 12 volts, 10 volts, 5 volts, nothing. So that's telling me that's got a problem, which once again is absolutely fine. We just need to you can see it's green, corrosion, anything like this could be causing a problem within the Speedo sensor and all that sort of jazz. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this apart again, give it a bit more slack. Now what I want to do is, I know I'm pulling it quite far out, but I want to cut it roughly about here, leave this much on there. If I need to actually use this again, I've not shot myself in the foot and can't reuse it, because obviously if I do it in this section just here, I know it's going to be close to there. I'm just trying to foolproof it. So snip that's done. Right, that one works. So now we've already cut this wire down, so it's only got one end on it, and then I know where that goes. So we're going to feed it back through there, and then just before it exits out of it, I'm going to feed this one through, just to confirm I'm pushing it through the right hole, which I am indeed. So that one's now out, so that can get fed up to there. We're then going to feed that one out of this. There's like a rubber insert which is for waterproofing, which obviously hasn't done its job. Gonna then push that through with that one all the way out, and there we go. There we have it. So now that's coming through there. Haven't done that with this other yellow one yet because well, obviously I was getting sidetracked a little bit with showing everyone off what I was doing. I wasn't showing off, as in showing you what I was doing. So let's feed this back through here. Let's get this wire in so it's right, because I don't want to do this again. Right, that's in there. That's in there. Pull that one all the way through. Now, what I need to do now is actually repair the wires. Otherwise, I'm going to forget which wire goes where. Obviously, I've got photos of it. I do know where they go. So yeah, this is your red and yellow, and this is your red. This is ignition live to it, and this is your speed sensor. So I'm going to just end it here quickly, grab my tools, grab my bits, and come back. Right then. So, as you can see, there's a lot more wires hanging off of this now, which is fine. They're obviously too long. I appreciate that. However, I can deal with wires that are too long. What I can't deal with wires that are too short, because then I've got to redo it all again. But for this present time, I'm actually quite happy, if I'm honest, because right now, holding this here, I now have a backlight that works. It worked before, don't get me wrong, it worked before, but now, wiggly, nothing changes, it's all the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dish back through the bits of wire that I just had. I've lost them. I've lost the packet. I might have to pack it. Failing that, if anyone needs to know what connector it is that you need to redo these, because I'm going to need to get more of these. I'm going to want to do the whole thing because they're pretty poor. Fiddly as hell putting them back together with big ones in. You've got to put them at an angle, then you've got to twist them 90 degrees, and they sort of lock in place. So they're doing a good job. In fact, there might be a part number on that. Yes, I think there might be. I will find the part number. If anyone needs it, comment, email, whatever you want to do. I'd love to help out, because I doubt you'd be able to get these from Mondial. I know with like Fiat, it's a case of new wiring loom. I know this isn't Fiat, this is a motorbike, but it could be the same principle, but you can't actually get hold of the wiring. It's going to be a new wiring loom. But if you could spend 20 quid on some wire and fix it that way, brilliant. Especially if you do it yourself. Mate, I haven't explained what... I disconnect the battery every time I'm doing this. I have to reconnect the battery just to get it to check it. However, you're now going to be my eyes and ears. Well, mainly my eyes. Because I can't see this while I'm doing what I'm doing. So I'm going to line the camera up underneath, put it in gear, and see if it reads. But I'm not going to know until I go back and look at the footage. So I suppose the camera's picking it up before I am. So what I'll do now is I'll switch ignition on. I'll move you so you can see it. Ignition off, ignition on. Let's go on the other side. Now I have no idea if that worked or not, so I'm going to look back through and see what happened. I've looked through, and to me that worked. Buzzing, right. So now what I'm going to do, off camera, fit everything back together again. You've already seen in previous videos about how I take the tank off, the trims on the side, 2 bolts, another bolt underneath that, on the grey trim, white trim, 1 bolt, and it pulls off. I've left the seat mechanism on this one, battery go back in again, just wrap the wiring up. There's 1 wire I need to test. It was a three wires and 1. I need to put it back together and see if it works then, but it's going to be a lot easier if I just do it. I can explain after if that made a difference or not. I believe it's meant to be part of the same one, but the node isn't there. Someone's put one of these in. So I'm going to take the tank off, put it again properly, put the digi jack back up again, wrap all the wiring up. You'll see it in a bit and it'll be done, and I might even take it for a little ride just to make sure it's all right. We've changed the ECU, not ridden it yet. Hopefully the Speedo works, and if it does, it hasn't cost me anything as of yet. The only thing that would have cost me some of these, and like I say, I can find out what the part number is, and we can let you know where you'd ordered them from. Cool, right, see you in a bit. Okay, so the bike is now back together, apart from the seat, because I've lost the blank for the AUDI reader, but I'm sure it's on the toolbox over there. I just need to dig it out. Yeah, so we're in kilometres an hour. So the one thing you need to do on these to change it from kilometres an hour to miles an hour is hold down the reset button on the side with ignition off, ignition on, wait, and it will eventually turn itself back to miles an hour. So that's what I'm going to do now. So what we do is we hold this button on the side in here, flick that on, miles per hour. Now that's back into miles an hour, what we're going to do is start the engine, put it in gear, let the wheel spin freely, and hopefully it reads in miles an hour. So there we have it, a little bit in depth, a little bit long maybe, I don't know yet. But Speedo now works, as well as all the other wiring that obviously I've thought there was a problem with, and there was a problem. Like I say, them cables that I've got, the repair cables for my own car, but no longer needed them. But I will find the part number if anybody needs it to repair that plug. They're very similar, they're not quite the right ones, but it does work. Better than someone shoving some copper wire in there and a clamp. Ridiculous. But yeah, if you need anything like them wires for your bike, drop us an email, drop us a comment, and we'll be sure to find the part number, where to get the part number from, as in where to buy it through that part number. And yeah, hopefully now I can go out on the road. I don't have to worry about having to slow down for speed cameras because I don't know how fast I'm going. So yeah, job well done, well happy that it's done, annoyed that someone has done that work, like someone actually left work that day and went, yeah, do you know what, I've done a good job today. They haven't done a good job, they've done an appalling job, but anyway, enough of me. Don't forget, like, subscribe, click the bell icon for notifications when we're doing a video. Any questions, comments, please do email, comment. We're on TikTok, send us a message on there. Yeah, stay safe.